Welcome to today's video. We are going to focus on inequality word problems. We're going to take a word problem, we're going to make it into a linear inequality in standard form, we're going to transform it into slope-intercept form, and then we are going to graph the inequality. If we read our first one, Mrs. Stafford took her grandchildren to a baseball game with plans to spend no more than $24 on snacks. An order of nachos cost $6 and a bag of peanuts cost $4. Now, if we look, we need to make sure we know what's important here. Well, first of all, we want to spend, and don't mind the board, no more than $24. Well, that tells me if I need to spend no more than $24, 24 is the most I can spend, so this is going to be less than or equal to 24. An order of nachos costs $6, so I'm going to say 6N. And a bag of peanuts costs $4, so 4p. Well, in this case, we're going to add them together. When you go to a baseball game and buy stuff, you have to add them together. So our answer for letter A is 6n plus 4p is less than or equal to 24. Now, if we think about standard form, x always comes first. So to be able to graph this, we're going to just change this to 6x plus 4y is less than or equal to 24. And x is always going to come first, so if you use different letters to write the initial problem to help you visually, that's fine. Just make sure when you go to convert it to slope-intercept form, you change it to x and y. Now, like we've done before, we're going to subtract 6x on both sides. We're left with 4y is less than or equal to negative 6x plus 24. We're not in slope-intercept yet, so we're going to divide everything by 4. And we're going to get y is less than or equal to, I'm going to simplify my fraction to negative 3 over 2, x plus 6. Now I'm in slope-intercept form. I have a slope of negative 3 over 2 and a y-intercept of 6. So now to graph it, I'm going to plot my point of 0, 6 for my y-intercept. My slope tells me I can go down 3 to the right 2. I'm going to do this a couple times, hopefully if the board cooperates well enough. Now, in this case, based on my symbol of less than or equal to, it is going to be a straight line. Now, from here, we can either pick a test point, or we can use the trick we've talked about in class. If I look at my sign in slope-intercept form, I have y is less than or equal to. So I'm going to start at my intercept and go less, which means I need to go down. And I'm going to shade that entire bottom area in. Now, obviously, she cannot buy negative peanuts or negative nachos, but for the case of this graph, we're going to shade it in anyway. If we look at our second example, Robbie is making costumes for the chorus members in an upcoming performance. He must keep costs below $200. Male costumes cost $20 to make, and female costumes cost $25 to make. Write the inequality that describes the situation, and then we're going to graph it again. So we're going to write it in standard form. Again, if I look at what's important, well, we need it to be below $200, which means it needs to be less than 200. Male costumes are 20, so I'm going to put 20M plus my female costumes are $25. That is our answer to letter A. That's our standard form. We have $20 for males plus $25 for females, which has to be less than 200 because we want it below 200. Well, again, we want to graph it, so I'm going to turn it into x and y, and x is always come first in standard form. So from here, I'm going to subtract 20x on both sides, and I'm going to have 25y is less than negative 20x plus 200. We need to get y by itself, so I'm going to divide all my terms by 25, and I am left with y is less than negative 4 over 5x plus 8. This now tells me we're in slope-intercept form, and I have a slope of negative 4 over 5 and a y-intercept of positive 8. I'm going to plot this on my graph. going to plot positive 8, and then I'm going to go down 4, to the right 5, down 4, to the right 5. Because I just have a less than this time, it is going to be my dashed line. And again, from here, you can either plug in a test point, or you can just use the trick we looked at in class. In slope-intercept form, it is y is less than, so I'm going to go to my y-intercept, and I need to go less than my y-intercept, which means it is going down. Now, again, I know he cannot spend or make negative costumes, but for the point of this graph, we are going to graph it into the negatives. Typically, what you will see is it'll just be the first quadrant for something like this, but I want to make sure we really focus on graphing because that's the important part, and we need to make sure we understand which side we are shading because, again, that makes all the difference. Now, for the third example, the one thing I want you to do, and I am telling you to do this, cross out graph the inequality. We're not going to graph this one. But if we look, Mr. Newman is purchasing plants for a garden center. It will cost $30 to buy a mature tree and $10 for a young one. His target is to keep the cost under $210. Well, if it's under $210, it has to be less than $210. We have $30 for a mature tree plus $10 for a young tree. That is my equation in standard form. Now, for practice, let's turn it into slope-intercept form, even though we're not going to graph it. We're going to subtract 30m from both sides. We're going to be left with 10y is less than negative 30m plus 210. From here, to get y by itself, we're going to divide all of our terms by 10, and we have y is less than negative 3x plus 21. Now, if we were to graph this, we would use a slope of negative 3, which we could also say is negative 3 over 1, and a y-intercept of 21. But obviously, looking at this graph, we don't have a y-intercept of 21. So for this graph, you're excused from it, and you don't have to graph it. The big thing I need you guys to do when you do your practice problems, please make sure you read the question carefully. Identify your variables. Identify your keywords. At most means that's the most they can spend. At least is the minimum they want amount they want to spend. So make sure we're really mindful of those words. Go ahead to your practice problems, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.